Come on. There it is. All right. Okay, so now that we are officially live, hi guys, it's awesome to see you guys again back on my channel for the brand building workshop exercise that we're doing together. Today is going to be a very exciting one, maybe a little bit longer because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. So sit tight, grab your drink, and grab your notebook. Let's get into psychographic audience segmenting. So recap on what we've done so far. So last week we talked, well, technically Monday, we talked about demographic audience data and how to find it. Now that we are one step further, we've got the basic profile of who we want to talk to. Now we want to find out what drives them, what actions do they take, and how are they using your product. So this is part 5 out of 10. So give yourselves a pat on the back. You're halfway done with this whole fun workshop. Now, I do apologize. It took me a little bit of time to get your guys' brand workshop workbook all the way done, but it is now available. I'm so proud that it is now available because it took forever and so many edits. So you can get yours right here by going to this link, and it'll be sent straight to your email, or you can get it by following me on Twitter and subscribing to the newsletter there. All right, so I will be showing you guys, I'll be sharing my screen so you guys can take a look and see what we've got inside of the workbook in a minute here. I just have to get all of the house cleaning out of the way. All right, so let's talk. So what is psychographic data, and what's the difference between psychographic and demographic? So if you remember way forever ago, back in the values workshop 2 weeks ago, we talked gently about the drivers of the brand and what are people responding to? What are the underlying things that the brand and the people want? So we talked about it from the perspective of the brand. Now we're talking about it from the perspective of our ideal client, which we just defined in demographic sense. So the location, the age, gender, things, statistical data that gets reported out online there. All right, so now when we're talking about psychographic data, it gets a little bit more in depth. So psychographic data is designed to supplement demographic data. Many companies use just demographic data and forego all of the behavioral and psychographic data. Sorry, they use demographic and transactional data, but won't use the other two. So it's all four are equally important to one another. So just keeping that little bit of tidbits in mind. All right, so a lot of people are put off by psychographic targeting like this, and I fully agree with you. It's okay to feel that way and still be using it. Just being conscious about that feeling underneath and making sure to eliminate anything that might feel extra creepy. So that's usually the biggest complaint about psychographic data is, oh, this is so creepy. So when you get way too personalized, I heard about this the other day on another person's live stream. When it gets way too personalized, it gets creepy. Like, hi, LJ, you forgot such and such in your basket. And I'm seeing it in an ad. Obviously, that's a lot creepier than here's something that I looked at online in this way. And based on this information that however I interacted with the website, it changed up a little bit so that the messaging was more relevant to me. And that's really where psychographic becomes the good stuff. So it's more relevant to your audience. You get better relationships out of the whole deal just because you're so relatable to them. But it's more targeted data, more targeted conversations, content, and of course, underneath all of that is a higher ROI for you the person that's actually going through this 10-step process with me to make this mess happen. So, keeping those couple of things just in the back of your mind. Don't be too creepy about it, but uh, you know, you can still use the data without being creepy. All right. So, like I mentioned in passing a little bit earlier, uh, psychographic data is designed to complement and supplement demographic data, transactional data, and behavioral data. Uh, Psychographic data does reveal behavioral data and vice versa. So just keep all of that stuff in mind as you're kind of moving through this. You might, oh, wait, that sparked up something, or this concept that we just talked about is, oh, wait, that gave me another idea or another descriptor for my demographics. Then go for it, add it. Remember, all of this stuff is always updating. Your brand should never be completely static, especially when it comes to demographic and psychographic stuff that we're doing in these last two videos. Brand core should be pretty consistent, and then the brand personality and positioning should be fairly consistent across the board, with this exception. Anyway, so let's talk for a minute about the archetype wheel. So this is, I'm getting a little bit further ahead in our thing here because I want to talk about this stuff and it'll help a lot here. So let's, and I remember I talked to you guys about the, oh, that is, okay, cool beans. So I talked to you guys gently about the archetype wheel. I didn't really go into it because it was a much deeper conversation, and well, now's the time to have that deeper conversation. So this is the archetype wheel, and this is the 12 primary demographics, really, or sorry, archetypes. I'll get it mixed up one of these, or I'll keep getting it mixed up, so just forgive me. So all of these 12 core archetypes, there's actually over 60, I think it is, sub-archetypes within these, but these are the main ones. So this is, everything always leads back to these four things in the middle. Now, ignore everything on the outside and just focus on the stuff inside of this inner green circle, including this little border. So all of this stuff is brought out when we mentioned in the brand. How does the brand stand? What does the brand stand for? Now we're mentioning, as I mentioned, we're doing it for your audience now. So where do they fall on this archetype wheel? Do they fall into multiple places? More than likely. And I'll give you another nudge here. So this is the archetype breakdown for our company. So at the very core, this is what our people want. They want to provide structure and order, connect with others, and leave a lasting mark on the world, the universe, whatever. So keeping all of those at the forefront and at the center of everything that we do is how we talk to the people that we want to talk to. This is how you got here to this video. This is how it happened. Is everything was pretty much engineered, at least, well, more recently engineered. At first, we didn't know who to target until you guys started telling us. So that's how everything came together, and that's where it all plays in. All right, so let's digress from this whole shebang, and I'll give you just a little peek at what this little thingy looks like. It is designed to be used inside Canva. Just keep that in mind. I did include a PDF version, just like I've got here, inside the newsletter if you don't want to use it inside Canva, but it is much easier to use inside Canva. Just, it was designed in Canva, so keep that in mind. All right, so anyway, I will jump down to our next part. So we want to see, what does our audience want? Now, I've included a ton of examples and relevant other information that's supposed to be watched alongside the videos. If I'm being real, you can probably figure out what to do by just the workbook alone and no videos, but, well, that's up to you. So anyway, psychographic information is broken down into three main segments: primary psychographics, practical stuff, and niche specific questions and niche specific information. So just going straight across, primary psychographics focuses on the person. likes, dislikes, values, priorities, values, remember, and their motivations. So these are surface stuff. Um, Now, we want to find things that relate to their likes. So uh, I gave this example a couple of days ago when I did a video on the affinity score for Facebook. Find other relatable pages of using your affinity score, or if you just know other places that your audience likes to hang out. And you can kind of start to figure out little tiny bits of information. Now, it's not going to be the most dialed in, but you can at least have a wireframe. So, for example, one of mine is the Facebook app. So, what do I look at? Facebook's page. Um, Very short, very concise, respectful to a fault. And they really have a way of over explaining things in such a way that's simple enough to get it, but you feel like you've walked away with way more than well they've said. So I was able to start with that to kind of build down into this medium area where I stand at now, whereas a semi-casual, kind of in the middle on the casual side. All right, so keeping all of this stuff in your workbook, and I'll show you what it's literally just a carbon copy of the same thing. So as you start to pick up little bits of information, just plug it in here. Like I said, it's supposed to be using Canva. That's why we've got all these little ticker marks. If you are downloading the PDF version, I would definitely suggest going in and downloading the Canva version and typing everything out after you've done with your pencil or pen or whatever. All right, so now we want to talk about the practical psychographics. So what are they doing on a day-to-day basis? What do they need? What do they do? And how do they consume their information? Now, this is going to play into a little bit later when we talk about what's the best way to talk to this audience. And that's far down the line after the brand has been created and built and everything. That's talking more into brand identity and brand design, which will be immediately after this brand building series. We'll start talking about all of that stuff. All right, so aside from that, the third and final category is niche specific, industry specific questions. So that's where we start to reveal pain points. What do they really need? How are they already being served? And what is missing in their life, in their use, in the product use? Now, the other part of that is how are they using the product? So let's give a brief example. We will say that this is a Canva template. Let's just steal that same idea. A simple Canva template, 20, 30 social media posts, whatever. It doesn't really matter what the actual product is. But when people are picking that up, how are they actually using the stuff that you have put together? So are they immediately turning around and like as soon as purchase is completed, they are in Canva and making their edits, or are they purchasing, leaving it for a while, purchasing, sending it to a designer? How you want to find out what the journey is that they're kind of using this stuff for. Um, all right, so those are the three categories of data, and those are the three kinds of questions that you want to be asking inside your survey. So now talking about the survey briefly, especially if this is somebody that's newer in business, definitely take the time to check out Tally. Really awesome. It's like a Typeform alternative, but it kind of reminds me of Notion almost. And Medium, how they've got that like pageless experience. Anyway, it's really great and it works like a damn charm. Plus, it's free, so that's always good. Now, if you are part of my older folks that are more experienced and more seasoned in business, definitely go for something like Typeform for the compatibility between different places. And Google Forms is, default. Everybody uses Google Forms. All right, so let's figure out, or let's get some questions to ask. And you don't need to remember all of these because you can get it inside that brand workbook and it's got all of these examples listed out. So talking about likes, dislikes, if you had a night free of distractions, what would you do? Um, what kind of X do you like? What kind of movie would you enjoy? If you were given a choice between X, Y, and Z, what would you choose? That's what those are the same kind of forms that you're going to follow for all of these questions. You don't want to have as many open ended questions, especially when we're talking about these, more psychographic stuff. Now, leaving open the option to add another, an other field is, of course, how you're going to make adjustments to your form over time. So moving right along, just straight across, I'm literally going straight across the primary psychographics, values and priorities. So which is more important, family, work, or your social life? What does that reveal? Tons. You can do so much with that. Motivations. Who do you turn to for product reviews? Now, let me give you an example. If I want to watch a movie, my husband and I want to watch a movie, we're going to go onto YouTube and we're going to search up Grace Randolph. That's our go-to person for, should we even bother watching this movie, or is it just going to be garbage? So, that's one thing that a data point that we can pull off of and kind of start to see how are other people presenting their information. And if they're enjoying consuming information in that format, oh, look, we can copy that. Or, oh, we can model this, this, and this. Or I like this and this. I don't like that or that. Let me make my own unique style, however it looks for you. All right. Now, moving down into the more practical questions. So what do they need? How they consume information? What they do in their lives? Look at the day-to-day activities. Where else besides work and home do you go every week without fail? Do you visit Starbucks every Tuesday at 5 p.m.? I don't know. But those kind of questions start to build a habit. What do they do all the time? Now the Starbucks example is kind of bad. Do you go daily at 5 p.m. would be a better example. But furthermore, what would you do if your schedule was disrupted? So if I don't know, let's stick with that example. If your Starbucks was all out of coffee somehow, where would you do instead? Would you drive across the street to Coffee Bean? Would you drive down the road to the next Starbucks? You kind of get a feel for what their thinking process is. Are they so habitual that it literally has to be Starbucks? Or are they just flexible enough and they just want coffee to where they would just walk across the street or drive across the street to go and get Coffee Bean? Sorry, forgot the other part of the example. So moving into the attention keepers. So how you consume information. What news sources do you start to look at? Do you check NBC? Do you check CNN? Do you check Fox? Do you check somebody else? Do you not watch the news at all? What social media platform? Are you a turn to Twitter immediately, or are you I need to go and check out TikTok to get my ideas together, or wherever that may be? And that's going to kind of open up the door into the marketing campaigns. So if immediately they're going to turn to Twitter, go to Twitter, promote on Twitter, make Twitter your keynote. Okay, so moving over into the third category of practical questions. What do they need? Let's give an example. So in times of stress, what are the best ways to calm yourself? For me, 5 deep breaths. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm usually okay. That's not working. We step it up a notch. We do the shakeout. And just, go crazy for a couple of minutes and just shake everything out. And if that's not working, then okay, then we need to go up another step. Go into meditation, take a few minutes, and regroup. So we start to get a better idea of what they need. Of course, the point. So now those are the main two. That's where you're going to find a lot of the stuff about your audience. Now, when you're starting to get into the industry and niche specific questions, this is where you're going to start to unveil things that are going to be used for your positioning in the next step. So, pain and annoyances. So, are you opposed to using this? So, are you opposed to using an insurance agent? Yes or no? Are you a frequent user of Facebook ads? You can kind of start to see what's annoying about that, and always invite them to elaborate on these types of questions, especially when we talk about the niche specific. This is where you'll find a lot more of your open-ended responses. So in that example of the Facebook ads, so what do you find irritating about running ads? Oh, I don't like designing it, or I think it's annoying to come up with different ones every so often. I don't like leaving it in the learning phase. I don't like X, Y, Z. I don't like that people click on my ad but make it to my landing page and it's not working. This is where we start to realize where are things that we can actually help people with. How can we adapt our offering to help them the most? Now, remember that at the core of all of this, we want to help these people. If you're in business, there's chances are there's somebody you want to help, whether it was you, somebody else, or a mixture of both. So keep all that fun stuff in mind. Now, aside from the pain and the annoyances, we want to find out how aware are they of their options. So let's give a quick example. Now, I think this is the funniest thing, and to me, it's funny. Not funny, haha, funny like, shoot me in the foot. One of my local competitors is Neil Patel. So, if you haven't heard the name Neil Patel at this point, he's like the one that everybody turns to for SEO and content and PR. Big personality in the marketing industry. So I invite you to check him out. He's got a lot of great content too. But he's one of my local competitors. We're both based in Las Vegas. We both serve Las Vegas primarily. And then we have another overlap in our outside demographics. So I was like, oh, great. Not only do I get to introduce people to another amazing person that knows a lot of stuff, but I get to find out, are they aware that they can do X, Y, and Z with this person, or can do ABC with that person? Anyway, so and I want to also frame this for folks in our financial services industries, which that's part of who we help. That's our big overarching folks. So, have you heard of United Healthcare? Have you heard of Humana? I don't know. I'm pulling ones out of my head from the days, but how often do you make a purchase, or how often do you switch? What would your favorite brand? How could they do better? What don't you like about them? What don't you like about their offering? And now we want to get into talking about the market awareness. This will help us a little bit next when we talk about, of course, analyzing the market. We're going to take a look at our competitors and do a deep dive into them, but also to find a place where there is no competition in the market. What unique positioning can you present to your target audience to make them trip over themselves, to come and say hello? And that's ultimately what we want to do. Obviously, this is marketing. So the third number 9, the final part is their use habits. So this is where we start to get opinions on price points. Would you consider this too expensive, or this price too expensive? A better way to say, what price would you consider too expensive for Canva templates? What price would you consider too expensive for a life insurance policy? And when, you can also look at this from the other side. What would you consider too cheap for Canva templates? What would you consider too cheap for life insurance, to where you would start to say, something's wrong. Something is not here. Sorry, I've got fly in my face. Something is not going okay, or something is wrong here. That's things like that we want to say. Um, how is it being used? Is it being used in a social environment, one-on-one? Is it being not used by them at all? Is it being shot off to somebody else in our earlier designer example? And all of this stuff kind of starts to paint a picture of when we're writing our copy, how do we want to say, okay, you're going to be doing, let's say we're shooting off the um, templates over to a designer. So in my landing page, we'll say your designer will, I don't know, shit bricks. Like you can put things like that into your copy to make it more, well, if he's gonna think it's so awesome. Now chances are your designer doesn't really think that, but um sorry, I just had to put that little bit of information in there, just like that is not a valid thing. But anyway, coming on to those same concepts there, to move into more relevant content. Always at the center of this, more relevant content. All right, so talking about your survey really briefly, break it up in sections. I would say probably between 3 and 5 screens. But first one being, if it's an anonymous survey, obviously don't gather any personal information. And I do encourage most of your market research surveys to be anonymous or to have that information be optional. Um, but anyway, so I would definitely suggest, like I mentioned, if you're a little newer on, or if you're just kind of sick of whatever form builder you're using, check out Tally. I was impressed with it. That's tally.so. And it was, well, like I said, it's amazing. So, on another note, this is an ongoing investigation, ongoing collection. So make sure that you're updating psychographic sheet all the time. Now, on my schedule, that's every other month. So I'll take a look and okay, I've got 30 responses. And oh, look, there's something new. Okay, well, let me put it on my sheet there. So you don't have to do it as often as you're thinking, like daily, like you would with keywords and things like that. But um, still on some frequency or some frequent basis. All right. And of course, based on all of this data, you're going to be continually adjusting what you do. Wow. It's telling me that I'm going over now. All right. So let me wrap this up and give you a last couple of tidbits to remember. So let's talk real quick. Let's recap. So even though psychographics are usually painted as pretty creepy, as long as you don't dive too deep into the creepy, it's okay. So dial it back, but not, don't dial it all the way off. Dial it just like from 10 to like 6 or 7. Other than that, this is all used to make more relevant content, have more relevant relationships, talk to a more relevant audience, and of course, as all of those things come to a conclusion you get more ROI, better ROI on your ads or content or whatever the hell else it is. So, couple of last minute things. Of course, don't forget to get your workbook. Keep all of this information in a good central place that you can send this off to a new designer, a new contractor, a new member on your team, so they can be up to date with everything on your brand, every little nuance, every aspect, to make sure that everybody is on the same page from day one. So on another note, remember there are 3 different categories of data: basic psychographic data, which we'll find out likes and dislikes and values and all things like that. Practical data: what do they do on a day-to-day? How do they consume information? And then, of course, niche specific: how aware are they of your competitors? And how are they using the product and in what ways? So one last little bit. It is an ongoing collection, so keep it ongoing. Remember, always update things. And of course, you can always reach out to me if you have questions. Send me an email, DM me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, and DM me on Twitter, I suppose. And position your brand perfectly. Now, remember, next up, we're going to be talking about analyzing the market. We'll be talking about your competitors, what drives them, and where the overlap is, and how you can start to eat up the market share. On another note, if you are ready to position your brand to be acquired, I encourage you to reach out to me and get yourself a get to know you call so we can talk about it. All right, guys, everything is awesome. Remember to put everything all together. Remember to put everything all together in your workbook. Drop a like, comment your questions, subscribe. Love and light. Namaste.